the best of money matters. The Hot Seat.
And welcome to the Hot Seat, a debate segment where ideas clash and insights spark. I'm your host, Hongbin, Jeong. Now, when the COVID-19 pandemic swept the world away, it caused some irreversible changes that left an impact here in Singapore, especially the nightlife scene, which has struggled to regain its footing despite the numerous avenues provided for them to bounce back. However, is it really the fault of the pandemic, or have Singaporeans themselves changed in how they relax and unwind after a long day? So today we have to ask ourselves, is Singapore's nightlife phasing out? Well, before we hear from our guests and dive deeper into this debate, here's a disclaimer. The views and arguments presented by our interviewees do not necessarily reflect their personal beliefs or opinions. Instead, they are here to provide a fresh perspective on the topic at hand. On that note, if you'd like to send some questions in for our guests, and feel free to text us at 88550893 or leave a comment on our Instagram and TikTok, as we're currently streaming live on those platforms as well. I've just had a chance to talk to our listeners on Instagram as well as on TikTok. So now, without further ado, let me introduce our guest who will be sharing their perspectives on this pressing topic. The man who will be speaking on the reality of nightlife phasing out is Cinda Yap, who is the online personality and founder of Chug Chug. And we also have Wadi, a Gen Z social media influencer who will try to convince us that the nightlife is still, in fact, very much alive. So welcome to the Hot Seat, both. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Thank you so much. All right. To start off, based on your own personal experience, give us your honest opinion on the current nightlife scene here in Singapore.
Yeah, I feel that it's pretty much dying out. It's quite a sad state, to be honest, in my opinion, compared to 10 years ago, up to pandemic, actually. So, in my opinion, it's pretty much dying out.
All right, Wadi?
For me, I personally feel that the nightlife scene in Singapore is not phasing out, but evolving. Because, even though there are massive clubs that are, not as dominant in the nightlife scene, I feel that the nightlife has taken on a new form, especially after COVID. Yeah, so I think people still want to go out, but they are looking for more of a quality experience over, just getting wasted and drinking. Yeah.
I see. I mean, there's many instances in which Singapore's nightlife becomes, booming in success. Just last year alone, we had massive concerts by artists such as Coldplay, Bruno Mars, and even Taylor Swift, who helped boost Singapore's GDP by 2.7% in Q1 alone. I mean, if Singapore's nightlife is indeed fading, like you mentioned, Cinda, how do you explain the continued success for large-scale international events like those concerts and even F1 Grand Prix, which draws significant crowds year after year?
I don't think you can judge the whole nightlife scene based on concerts alone. And to be honest, it's more of the SMEs, the bars, the restaurants, they are struggling, they are having a hard time. It's not so much of just having concerts. I mean, the big boys are hosting it.
Right.
So it's just part of it, I would say. Not exactly a good representation of the nightlife scene in Singapore. Yeah.
I see. So Wadi, as Cinda has mentioned, even if, let's say, those concerts and events were indeed successful in drawing in crowds and helping businesses, aren't those events just a one-off thing and not a true representation of Singapore's everyday nightlife scene?
Yes, those concerts and F1 races definitely bring massive crowds. But I feel like Singapore nightlife scene is, more than that. Nightlife in Singapore happens every night, every weekend, even without any big events. And there are cocktail bars, music gigs. They are thriving even without the hype itself. So even though it's different from the 2000 or the 2010, I feel like it is constantly evolving because there are new even house parties. These things are evolving, and I feel that with this thing, Singapore nightlife is definitely not phasing out, and it's just more than that. Yeah.
I see. Well then, Cinda, considering that the nightlife scene in Singapore has adapted over time with pop-up bars, rooftop clubs, and boutique entertainment spaces, how can we really say that the scene is phasing out when it's constantly evolving?
I think when we talk about the nightlife scene, we have to think of the broader picture. First first of all, like the cost has gone up so much for the F&B and the nightlife bars and everything. So for people to actually come out to spend, it's going to cost a lot more now than before. And it's also not just our local crowd. If you guys notice, like back then we have a lot of expats coming in, and these expats actually have a lot of E&T, entertainment fund, for them to bring clients out and everything. So the nightlife scene, in my opinion, which are like the bars, the restaurants, the clubs, they were booming with businesses just because people can go out and people can afford to go out, and they were having a lot of their time in the bars, in the clubs. But okay, when you say evolving, it has evolved. No matter what, a lot of big boys have died out. Like Starkers, like very big brands in Singapore have died out. No matter what, any point in time, people are going to come up with new ideas. And we call that evolving. But how packed and how good are the businesses? Is it enough to sustain for a long time? If it's not, people are just going to continue to run out of money and they're going to close. And another new concept will come out and people are like, oh yeah, we are just changing. But it's not sustainable. Like in my opinion, the crowd is not there. Only Fridays, Saturdays, you get people. Monday to Fridays. Monday to Thursdays, pretty much is quiet. Sundays, even worse. Yeah. So I don't think it's evolving alone because it's on a, like I want to, is I have no choice, but I need to.
Right. Yeah. I see. Well, back in my days, I went to nightlife spots like Attica, Avalon, or even F Club. And someone who frequently went to those places when I was younger, it is sad to hear that they have closed down. With many nightclubs and bars closing, Wadi, isn't nightlife, becoming unsustainable? Is it just that I personally don't go out much these days, so I don't really know the nightlife scene? I mean, how do Gen Zs like yourself go for a wild night out?
So to answer your first question, yes, he's correct that, it's evolving, but that's because you have to evolve. But I also feel that there are a lot of like theme house parties that are happening these days that, attract a lot of youngsters, especially my age, like for example, when Taylor Swift came, we have like Taylor Swift theme parties, and like even for like, I think the older crowd, they're like emo nights and everything. So I don't think that is not sustainable. I just feel that it's getting more fun, in my opinion, personally. And I do understand why maybe the older crowd feels that it is phasing out, because it is not just like, going to a club like these days, there's so many events and you have to buy tickets to get in. And I feel that it's still drawing in a lot of, massive crowds for that. And to answer your second question, how do Gen Z, party these days? I feel that we approach nightlife maybe a bit more strategically, because obviously we can't just show up to a bar and just, spend blindly, because most of us are students and young professionals. We don't have that, spending power. So like the first thing that we always do is to, pre-drink. Like that's something that we do often. Like pop by to 7-Eleven, or go to your friend's house. I think that's so much better than, spending like $18, $19 or the water down alcohol in the club. Yeah. And secondly is also like grabbing together back with your friends and everything. So I feel that clubbing these days for our generation is not just like starting at the club and ending at the club. It's like this whole experience, from the pre-planning to the pre-drinking to the going back with your friends. Yeah. That's how Gen Z does it.
Well, I mean, on that note, numerous articles have been published online saying that Gen Zs and millennials find that spending money and time on nightlife is a waste. We've also got a comment from Memory Latcher saying that, it's the exorbitant prices of drinks. For example, it's much more value for money to hang out with your friends and family at home with a $20 bottle of wine from, your local supermarkets. I mean, some of the major factors is that everything is too expensive, right, when it comes to nightlife abroad here. Wadi, I read online that back then with $50, you could easily enjoy a night out. So as a Gen Z, is this something that you can do now? I mean, isn't it too expensive to go out? Wouldn't you rather just stay at home?
I think you still can, but it's obviously harder with like the cost of living. It's like asking if you can still buy a plate of chicken rice with $1. It's like, of course, it's a bit hard, But like I mentioned, I think the nightlife today requires a little bit of planning and budgeting, and there are a lot of like precautions that you can do before going to a club. Like for example, I will take a public transport to the location and take a cab back. And it's sad that SBS has discontinued their night buses, but there are still like a lot of alternative private like bus services, like Night Owl or something, where they allow you to book before going clubbing, like at a flat rate, which makes it easy. And like I said, pre-drinking and choosing the right spots. Like don't always go to like high-end cocktail bars. Of course, it's got to drain your wallet. You can go to like lady nights, those like happy hours. Yeah, you can still have fun and enjoy the nightlife without having, to spend so much.
There are still ways that you can still enjoy a night out here in Singapore. Well, Cinda, then on that note, is it possible that your viewpoint on Singapore's nightlife is kind of based on nostalgia for a specific era, like let's say the 2000s or even the early 2010s?
I don't think so at all. Because actually I quite agree with what she said. The Gen Zs are very good at planning their budget. That is also one problem, you see. When the people get too good at budgeting, the businesses can't thrive because they are so conscious with what they are spending.
Right.
Like, I can't earn anything from it. And to add on, like she said, back then we used to have like ladies' night, used to have all these kind of promos, and it draws a lot of crowd. But nowadays, people time it so perfectly well. Once they are done with drinking, once it's out of happy hour, they're like, I'm out. A pint of beer costs you about $4 to $5, cost price to sell. And people are selling it below cost to draw the crowd. But once it hits the time out of happy hour, people leave the bar. So technically the bar lost money. So this is like a vicious cycle that has been happening, which killed a lot of bars. Okay, and then if we widen the perspective of like the cost of drinking in Singapore is indeed way too high. Per night, if you want to have like a proper, for my age, like 30 years old man, like if I want to go out and have like a talk to host some business partners, I'm looking at hundreds of dollars or even thousands if you go to a club. Yeah. So it's not sustainable. How much money do I want to spend? Okay. So all this is a fact that it's expensive. And I hope that our government see that we are a small island. We need a lot of entertainment brings like crowd. I hope that we have that kind of entertainment crowd back into Singapore to let us shine a bit more, instead of letting us kind of like dying out. It's not really the Gen Z's fault. It's not really like anyone's fault at this point. It's more of the cost is too high for anyone to sustain. And for businesses, right, we used to be able to charge at maybe like 30% and we earn 70% to cover the manpower and everything. Right now, you are earning maybe like 5%, 10%, and you can't make anything out of it, so people give up. Yeah, so a lot of pop-up concepts come out and try to draw like sudden crowd. Like one night I have, but how many people can I fit? I only can fit 1,000 people, max 500 people for that night. I only squeeze that night. Then what about the rest of the days? You're going to lose money for the rest of the days. It's not sustainable this way. So we need something that can be feasible. Yeah.
I mean, it looks like entertainment itself has changed as well, thanks to streaming services such as Netflix for movies and shows, or even Disney Plus, all of which we can enjoy from the comforts of our own home. Wadi, online critics say, digital entertainment and at-home events are replacing nightlife. We've got some comments in saying, Ryan Hong says, going out is so stressful these days. I just want to Netflix and chill at home. And someone here on TikTok now says, with more entertainment available, it's more feasible to stay home and Netflix with homemade drinks. Then with this, how do you respond to this change in how people entertain themselves?
I mean, I think digital entertainment is like an alternative, but it's obviously not gonna like replace nightlife because like TikTok and Netflix is a great entertainment, but they can't replace the energy that you get from socializing when you're, drinking with your friends. And maybe because I'm a very extroverted person, but I thrive on that social interactions. And I think, if I have a chance to, either go out or like, stay at home, like maybe once a month, okay, not every day, but if it's once a month, I would definitely choose to go out because that's where you get the in-person energy, right? So I think home events are great, but they are just like a complement to like the nightlife, not replacement. Yeah.
I see. And now one final question for both of you before we wrap up this conversation. Going back to the core of this conversation, is Singapore's nightlife truly phasing out, or is it the cost of living in Singapore that's making it hard for people to enjoy the nightlife scene? Why do you want to go out?
Okay, I think Singapore nightlife is not phasing. I think it's evolving and the demand is still very strong. Maybe as for consumer, maybe for businesses, I don't really understand. But I think for my generation, it's still going very strong. And the truth is that people always find ways to enjoy nightlife, right? Because they have to unwind like here and there. They can't be working and studying all the time. So whether it's through budgeting or choosing a different location, I feel that, it's about making it count. Because it's still happening, right? And as long as people still want to go out, Singapore nightlife continues to thrive.
I see.
For me,
Cinda?
yeah, it's the cost. Yeah, the cost of running a business has risen so much that, let's say if I have a 20,000 rent and I have to manpower everything, every day I have to make at least $1,000 in profit to make it sustainable. And how much do I have to do in revenue every single day? And that has translated to cost for consumers. And so right now you get a lot of pockets of people in very, very like recommended places. Other than that, it's quiet. You don't have like a bustling street anymore. Clarke Quay is quiet. You go to any drinking street, is no longer a drinking street. Like everywhere has quietened down overall. Tanjong Pagar is quiet. So in general, because of the cost, how people perceive all this, it has caused a lot of bars and the nightlife entertainment to go down, in my opinion. Yeah.
I see. Well, thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. We've been speaking to Cinda Yap, who is an online personality and founder of Chug Chug, and Wadi, who is a social media influencer. And thank you for those joining us on air as well as on TikTok and on Instagram. This has been The Hot Seat, where it's not just about winning an argument, but about understanding the complex layers that underpin today's hottest topics. I've been your host, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.